Oh no, oh, then gets empty again. Better fill it up before I go. Cause I'm loving it, feeling it, touch me and being it, see what I see.
This one has a lot of potential. I think that's what we're looking at this point. A lot of young players, a lot of talent, but it seems like at this point they're still putting the pieces together. Some serious vulnerabilities being exploited almost by this Vitality team. A late take onto the A side, but it never really looked like anything was going to go wrong. BMAS in the corners, I was just going to wide peek him with an AWP. I think if we were talking about a team building momentum and confidence, well, Vitality peeking 4 men into CT might be the epitome of that.
Oh, yeah. And the other teams in this group looking on this game, maybe, you know, some deep breaths.
King of this roster with the New York event that just finished. Unfortunately, like, FaZe just seemed to then turn up and destroy them in the final. But hey, baby steps for them. They've slowly been getting better and better. As said, Fnatic, like, the problem is, I feel like the second you doubt Fnatic, they win. Like, that's the problem. The second you go, well, you know, they haven't been good for a while. They haven't been good since the beginning of the year. They should be the ones like at the lower end of this group, and then they'll probably just go and beat everyone, which is just how they seem to roll. So I don't know. And mousesports, we don't know what to expect. I think for me, if you're looking at the top 2, it should be Vitality and OG, but I don't want to be the one banking on that.
Oh, yeah. I feel like this is definitely a group of death, and it's difficult to determine which of the teams goes through or which one doesn't, I suppose, is another way of looking at it. But Vitality now starting to look just that little bit more deadly. With each passing round, they get closer and closer to taking this best of 3. And I know it seems like we may be overstepping the mark, and perhaps we are, because Frozen gets 2 and only ZywOo comes back in for the tease. Now, we know this guy is capable of madness, but I don't think he anticipates there's a player down in the car. Oh no! Snatches at his opportunity. He doesn't realize ZywOo wasn't about to peek him, so he had to go for it. And in doing so, ZywOo now has a chance. He has an opportunity to actually strike in. Spins around for the first, but BMAS locks it with the AWP. My God, I thought he'd done it.
Yeah, you almost have to think a split-second difference on BMAS walking through that door, and maybe ZywOo gets... That was the first real attempt, and, well, with the amount of money that Vitality have, the pressure now on Karrigan, he's good for 1. Now, Frozen, bear in mind, he was deep within the B site in the last round, a completely different setup from mousesports, trying their best to be as dynamic as possible. This map is almost famous for that sort of play, and they're not going to check him. This could be all but perfect, a freebie. He spotted the bomb as well. ZywOo just going to throw that one away. Frozen's desperately trying to grasp a second player. He has to try and pounce now, though, as Masuta will have spotted him. It ends up just being a 1-for-1 trade, and I don't think Frozen will be too happy with that.
No, I honestly feel as if they could have done more out of that situation. There was so much time left. He'd seen the bomb had been tossed back onto long, so they knew it wouldn't be like a fast B hit or even middle anytime soon. But Rops maybe can still salvage this yet. For mousesports to get 2 in a row. He looks to try and pull himself back, and now they are hitting the B side. They've given it up. Shox makes the most of this. Run on in. Flashbang lands in his eyes, now clearing away, and Shox flicks for the first, and Masuta is there for the second. Chris J's AWP is all that remains for mousesports, and he is isolated from his fallen teammates, flashing himself through the smoke, but doesn't want to push in, and now he's given his position away. With the economy in such bad shape, does it really seem like a great idea to go for this? I mean, I know he's got supreme confidence in himself and absolutely should. On his day, he's an absolute monster. But the way this game has gone so far, economically speaking, it is...
Well, they made it look like they've been playing together for years and years. They look so comfortable playing together. Karrigan, though, that is a free AWP, a worthwhile trade, something he can attempt to try and bring something back in this round. We know he's been picking up the AWP quite a bit, although thus far on this map, it's been more, well, initially Chris J, and then we also saw Rops picking it up a little bit here. A quick reaction, though, from the side of Vitality, as they now try and split into middle. They've taken a fair amount of damage, but eventually every single kill goes their way, and Chris, after retrieving that AWP, again, just looks to try and save.
Yeah, this time, no 1v2 and up close. He is a mile away from the bomb, so wants to try and save, but Shox knows exactly what's coming up. Still gets put down, though, and plugged by the AWP. Feel like Shox will be disappointed he didn't take down that frag, and Apex and RPK are both low. Chris J is still holding on, still alive, and still has the AWP. He's making this costly for the T's and can dance around the flames.
Vitality, well, they're losing a lot of guns, but their money is through the roof, and removing this AWP, I think they've realized this is probably worth it. RPK be a little bit more hesitant, but it is looking like he's going to use the bomb to try and...
From or how close he was. So a big pick. He can still buy, but Rob's instantly neutralized by RPK, and the tank showing no signs of slowing down, but neither is frozen. Shox and Apex spring into a couple of kills before BMAS suppresses Apex down one more time. So much action in such a short period of time, though, allows Vitality some options. They don't have to rush the site, but they have gone for the plant regardless. And now Shox, who is isolated from his teammate, may not be called upon yet because ZywOo is locking it down by his lonesome. And Chris J, not for the first time, has an arduous task ahead of him, but at least he will get the one before he walks into the crosshair.
There's been a few clean ones on the side of Vitality as well, but for mousesports, just a clutch or two, it could have been a very different story. Unfortunately, in rounds like this, they've just been getting absolutely slaughtered.
Just being disintegrated, honestly, over and over again as Vitality continues to or do any damage.
Yeah, that's the thing with him, like consistently moving positions and being killed on different parts of the map. They don't want to overface it. They don't want to take too many risks that could lose them a gun or two. Well, not for the monetary gain, but more so they just don't want to give mousesports anything extra. Don't want to give them any confidence or the weapon itself. So they're just going to make sure they keep this one nice and clean. And that's the thing that sort of allowed them to really run away with this. As mentioned, like in a lot of the rounds, we've seen them have some 1v1s, 2v2s that have been relatively close. Obviously, the second the bomb seems to go down on the B side, I think you can pretty much just push all your chips onto the side of Vitality because they are winning every single one of those after plants. But in these pistol anti-eco rounds,
the business end of the half, and it starts to matter less and less. They do have double ops, which is something that maybe can facilitate another couple of rounds. Chris J going aggressively, deciding the best defense is an offense, because honestly, when they've been on the back foot, it's just been Vitality playing with their food. So at least up close, he gets a bit of information for the rest of his teammates, and if RPK can go down to his hands, then that will be a pretty big part of the burden that goes with him. Flashbang in could not have been better. Oh my god, he flick headshots RPK! That is outrageous!
Nope, that's not allowed. That's absolutely ridiculous, and hopefully that puts some wins in the sails of the side of mousesports. The second kill comes up off the back of Beam. It's definitely not as impressive as the first, but they'll take it all the same. A two-man advantage now for mousesports. Off some ludicrousy, but they've got to hold on to it. And although we may marvel at the brilliance of Chris J, they haven't been able to hold on to a lot of these rounds, and Vitality have done a fantastic job of, in both maps in fact, the second they lose a player or two, they fight back even stronger.
Yeah, that Berserker Rage coming to the forefront again. 30 seconds. Vitality making moves. ZywOo shutting down Chris J. He'll have no more crazy flicks left in him for this round at least. And with that pick, Vitality decide with 20 seconds, they don't want to hit A after all. They want to push through middle over towards B, but it's without any smokes covering the cross, but they have supreme confidence in ZywOo. 10 seconds to go. Carrigan making moves around the back of them. Will he be in time, though, to save Rops' life? No, Rops doesn't need saving. He's fine by himself to shut it down. He can't deny the bomb plant.
Midway through that's ridiculous. ZywOo's just gonna own Rops, though. That's the B-side defender gone, and actually the CT side were going for a play towards long and short at the same time. It's just going to end up with a double entry. Sure, they take down Apex in response, but the rest of the Ts have managed to gain control of long, and while walking into the crosshair, no scope flash wall bang this time for Chris J. He's just going to meet ZywOo instead. And now they're on a rotation back towards the B side. There's nobody there, Vince. It's completely open.
Asking a bit too much, and now Vitality with the post plant in their eyes. It's only a matter of time before they do go for it. RPK just doing his due diligence, making sure there's no players hiding around these boxes. Now knowing that that's the case, ZywOo has them on the cross and he's just not going to miss. BMAS gets savaged. Frozen somehow getting the assist and finally picks up the AWP on about the 5th time of asking. It's all good. Don't think it makes a huge amount of difference. He's been caught in the side. 3 HP separating him from his demise. At least gets one, padding his stats a little bit. Look at some of those optimistic elements of this, but the round is over. As
I said, he's having one of those days where he just seems unbeatable, but now they're just adding to this horrible situation for mousesports. Shox is still going to be waiting goose. Are they going to expect him? They may not even need to. ZywOo jumps up and takes one down.
A real nightmare to contend with. As I speak of him, does a bit of damage to Karrigan, who tries to rattle off with some deeg shots. Flashbang affords him safe passage back onto upper side of tunnels, but with his position known, Vitality will not be rotating off B. Middle taken again by mousesports. Pretty standard, nothing out of the ordinary. This is a force buy from them. Oh, that grenade is brutal, though.
They can't catch a break. They literally cannot catch a break. They catch a grenade, but that's not really going to be too positive in this situation. They're going to try and split onto the A side. Now, again, this is normally a position that guarantees you a bomb plant, but they've actually placed not only RPK lurking, but Apex on the site itself. Now, normally you're a little bit more passive than this. They need to clear him, and they haven't done so. Apex peeks out with 2, but eventually he'll be silenced by Frozen, who doesn't last long at all, and most people probably won't care, but at least at the end of that tournament, Tyloo had the highest second round win percentage of any team in the world.
Jeez.
Off force buys. It was ridiculous. It was something like 25%, which sounds like a fairly low number, but when you think about that, that's just them going into pistols against like an adverse buy on the other side. Like, that's madness. Obviously, again, you take into account that the opposition on the other side is a lot.
Delivered the hype that I was expecting, honestly. I was licking my lips when I saw this was our first game of the day. But so with Vitality, as it turns out, for very different reasons. And now, with a vast lead, mousesports on the back foot, and what could be their last chance to get anything done in this best of 3. Right idea, not too far off on the scout shot was Chris J. And Apex witnesses that bullet just whiz past his head. He maintains 100% of his health, though, and he can now dart back into the CT spawn. mousesports, again, looking to take middle control, but we've been here so many times, and they've been toothless on their endeavors. Will this one be any different?
Yeah, weirdly, out of all the setups that we normally see on Dust 2, this is probably one of the more standard ones. Like very passive holds coming out from Vitality, not going for much information even, just lurking around mid, player on B, couple of players on A. The only surprise factor might be ZywOo and Goose, but considering Long's been taken, that position stops being very valuable for that reason. Karrigan's just absolutely owned in. Apex has to try and take back some control. He's screwed. That flashbang is spot on from Chris, and they've got the A stack completely under their control. It's left up. What? Oh my God. Shox is having one of those days. He's even going to get frozen as well. Oh, just DC. There's nothing you can do. You can't fight this. This is legendary Shox. He's returning to the server and, well, hide. That's all you can hope to do.
When they said Vitality had the best player in the world, perhaps they weren't talking about ZywOo after all in this kind of form. Misuta lands the scout shot, but Shox, the bloodlust has descended. It's insatiable for this man, but his teammate's gone down. Can he feasibly clutch on that?
And 27 kills so far. As said, he was great on the first map. If he's going to hit his level in this tournament, I could easily see Vitality winning it.
Honestly, I'm right alongside with you, man, because as we said before, there are so many pieces of this puzzle of Vitality that need to be dealt with. And we've even seen RPK, you know, having big moments. We know that Apex has it within him additionally. Speaking of Apex, has been called upon to diminish the oncoming T's, and distributing plenty of bullets will do just that. Good flashbang, Misuta on the wrong side of middle. Gets punished before Shox is called upon one more time. 28 kills to his name with an AWP. Had the right idea, but a bit too slow on the trigger. For the first time of today, he actually comes out second best in a trade. And now Rops can go back in for more. post plant. Vitality's economy not in great shape, and they're not allowed the chance to escape either. Frozen cuts them off, much more like it from mousesports, and with a broken economy and Vitality, maybe there are ways forward yet.
Yeah, I'm glad to see them return to the board the way they have as well. Like, there's been a couple of nice little strats coming out, some decent splits, some good timing, some good flashbangs from the side of mousesports. Like, that wasn't just like one player like dragging them out of a hole. That was some very well worked team play rounds. So if we can see more of this style of thing, then I'm going to be much happier, even if they end up losing this, because that's the main thing. You don't want to see them just get slapped out of the first match, and then you go, oh, okay, well, they've got Fnatic and OG to come. As said, OG inform and Fnatic, you never know. You never know what you're going to get. Like, it's literally like a bag of revels. Like, just guess and hope. Maybe you can feel something a little bit and go, oh, maybe it's that. But no, chances are you're never going to be able to predict what team you see. So if mousesports can at least start grinding back into this one, sure, if they get to like 11 or 12 rounds, maybe we start to call questions on whether or not Vitality are letting this one slip, especially with T-side momentum. I mentioned it in the first half. I'll mention it in the second one as well. Rounds like this is where you gain confidence. Some squeaky clean rounds, please, mousesports. A chance for an 8th. And in fact, they've realized last man's over on A. Just go B.
Yep, chance to build the confidence, chance to build their bank balance additionally. And, well, RPK has been put down by Robs. 8 rounds now.
Sure, or even have some aggression into the tunnels, or at least have a player with presence over towards B. They're getting quite a lot of it for free, though. Like, there hasn't been much of a challenge into long. It's mainly been this push onto short, and Apex is just going to sit back, passive. Doesn't have whole lot of utility to his name, a single smoke and a flashbang, and again the CTs are left without a kit, so an after plant on this B site, which has been a personal favorite of mousesports so far, would be a real problem. For now though, here comes the flash. Zywoo left blind, and it's going to be BMAS actually who managed to drop down from short to get that opening pick. It leaves this B site vulnerable again. It's Masuta, it's Shox.
Oh, he's not affected by the flashbang either. He moved too far backwards, but his teammates died on the side. So Masuta can only get the one.
As said, it's good to see them grind back a couple of rounds, at least get into the match towards the end. But now they have to make this count. Every single round matters. 5 in the row needed to stay in this series. They already lost the first map in dominant fashion to Vitality. It looks like, once again, they might be about to challenge for long, or just patiently waiting to see if anybody else aggresses.
Chris has broken the deadlock in round 26. Shox goes down to his hands. That's a pretty important player that goes with him. So it's looking passive, but they do at least get first blood. Rops taking some middle control. BMAS this time is supported with flashbangs and smokes. He goes out alone. It's a one-man mission. Maybe sacrificed for the rest of his teammates. Now Masuta shows his hand. Bit of damage onto Rops, slowing down the T's, but they still have 3 players over on this side of the map. So Masuta will have to hold this down single-handedly against 3 more players. Molly tossed in towards the back of the site. Try as he may. Karrigan low, he still falls. And Vitality can't do much but save the AWP. mousesports 1 step closer.
Yeah, once again, it came down to them ultimately winning their duels. I think that's also one of the first pieces of aggression that we've seen from Shox, like properly peeking into mid. As said previously, it's been very passive, and Chris was just patiently waiting. You'll see him a lot of the rounds that they play actually on the mousesports side. He just watches mid. That's all he does. He just sits there patiently waiting. So it's worked out for them here. BMAS as well, that was a much better attempt as well. Like, he had the smokes, had the flashbangs, didn't get absolutely wrecked by Apex either. So 15 to 11, still enough money to buy. I think we're seeing a few weapons potentially being juggled around. Maybe Shox questioning as to whether or not he goes for a secondary AWP. And if so, if he's going to play it as aggressively as he's had, because that's been one of the issues, is that I think this B split, because he has an AWP, if he doesn't hit his initial shot, that's pretty much it done. It becomes very, very difficult with the surrounding style that mousesports have had. I think their timing through the smokes on B has been very good the majority of the time as well. So they're slowly growing into this one. Still 4 rounds in a row versus Vitality is quite a lot to handle.
I also agree with your assessment because typically it's been Shocks playing over on B with Masuta. This time they had Apex joining them with Shocks watching middle. So now that the early confrontation hasn't been anything too rapid through middle or B, they will start to make a move with a 3-player stack over on the middle side of B. They feel like B side is where mousesports are a little bit more deadly and dominant, but this does leave A that little bit more vulnerable, Tom, and ZywOo with a lot more pressure. He basically is watching short by himself with the AWP.
We talk a lot about combos in Counter-Strike. Go back to Crimson Olov. There's plenty more to name. I think ZywOo and pressure might be another one, though, as this man seems to thrive within it. RPK is already going to get the opener. This sort of leaves it down to just a short push, but there is a second player looking to lurk in. Apex has just found one more, and a dunk onto Chris J on the bomb plant. It's going to leave him even lower. Timing actually kind of works out for Frozen, though, but it looks like he might just wrap back around to try and gather up with the rest of his teammates. There's still aggression from RPK waiting, and BMAS has managed to found Masuta. Chris J, he's going to try and hold this one off with the AWP. As the cross looks to come in, he nails the shot into Apex, but RPK again has found another. Both players now on short, and a shot missed gives some space for them to get onto the bomb. Another connective from Chris, but he can't quite get the final. The lineup, though, from BMAS. He will close out the round. It couldn't have been closer. He'll even save an AWP, and mousesports, they go marching on.
Oh man, Chris landed such a beautiful flick shot back on the approach there, but BMAS lining them up with the AK-47. This is where the lack of smoke or incendiary was a bitter body blow for Vitality. They'd have loved to have thrown a smoke down, forced the T's to try and push through there, but because they'd already used so much on the approach, they only had flashes left. And Mouse weren't really too bothered about that. Now you can see the effect it has into this round. Vitality have to dip down to an MP9 with some pistols and just a couple of scraps of utility. Every chance for mousesports now to draw us back towards overtime. It's definitely not off the table now. It looked dead and buried at one point, this map, but now it's very much alive. And mousesports will have to contend with a 4-player stack over on Catwalk. I understand this play from Vitality. Mousesports have loved their Catwalk control, so it makes sense to stack 4 here. And the second they hear any noise, they will just be bursting in. May go a bit prematurely. The flashbang timing could not have been sweeter. And BMAS has done a great job of repelling this push. Good flashbang in, but actually it's an even trade. That may not favor mousesports, but they need to hold on to this angle and make sure they can't grab any more weapons. You saw a wide swinging shot go straight into play again, but Apex using the smoke gets 2 kills to his name. Spray through the smoke now, not able to get any more, ascertain any information, but they will be boosting over there, and Shock spots more players. 31 kills to his name, and Chris J gets finished off by ZywOo.